Today on Speak Truth, BeTruth, LiveTruth. I, Eddie Steely, am privileged and honored to have my friend Maurice Stewart as our guest. Maurice Stewart here, he's a Little League football coach. He's also a forklift specialist. He's also a great friend to many people. And he's a man of God. That's the most important thing, right? So we're going to have a good old time today. We're going to break down some things. We're going to talk about the Penal system. We're going to talk about family. We're going to talk about community outreach with our special guest, Maurice Stewart. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Maurice.
Man, where I start? Well, first, I want to say thank you.
Yes, sir.
I definitely want to say thank you for this chance to be up here, and thank you for being a great friend. I mean, ever since we met a few years ago, I'm talking about, like, I seen how your life has changed, and mine has changed in the same perspective. And I'm just enjoying life now, man. Like, I'm really living life. I was given a second chance, and I'm out here, and I'm enjoying life. As far as me, 43 years old. I live in the city of Newport News now. I was born and raised in Hampton, Virginia. I got in trouble when I was real young. I went to prison at the age of 16. And some people say it was a bad thing, but like, it put me on the course that I needed to go on. It showed me what God needed me to see in order for me to be the person that I am today. And I'm glad that everything played out the way it was, because if I didn't take them steps and I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Hey, man, and that's a great introduction, because me personally, I know this guy, and what he says is truth, and we about speaking the truth on, Speak Truth, BeTruth, LiveTruth, and this is a perfect demonstration or a perfect person to come up here and speak truth. He taught a little bit, or spoke on a little bit about his incarceration period. He was locked up at 16 years old on a robbery case. They gave him 31 years. 31 years at 16. Now, you want to talk about an injustice. But God still worked this for Jay, because inside of there, he wound up bettering himself inside of prison, right? I met this guy when we were in prison. I think I spoke on it last week on my previous episode that, man, I met him and Mason. These are like two of my closest friends. And prison was rough, but I'm kind of glad that I went through it in certain areas, because I wouldn't have never met Maurice, or I wouldn't have never met Mason, and these are real great friends of mine. And this guy's a stand-up guy, man. Other than he's a Jets fan, he's the only Jets fan in Virginia. But other than that, man, he's a stand-up guy, man. In prison, man, he always had my back. I had his back, man. We made the best of a worst-case situation, man. And like I said, it's an honor just to speak with him today. So we're going to get a little bit more into the incarceration phase. Because I remember when we both first got there at 43 Pod in Lawrenceville, we were both still a little bit reckless, right? Neither one of us was really attending church. I started going to Bible study, then I started going to church. And I remember one thing that he said to me that nobody else did. He commended me on getting baptized. He don't think I remember this, but I remember he said, man, that's all right. You got baptized, Eddie. And a lot of people, they'll try to ridicule you for stuff like that in prison. But he was like, man, that's all right. And don't you know, a few short months later, guess who else was in that water getting baptized?
Yeah.
So just tell us what happened during your time incarcerated, man. What gave you a drive to want to change? What helped you to, walk with the path with the Lord? And, just break that down a little bit for us.
Like you said, I went to prison when I was 16 years old. I didn't go to detention or anything of that matter. I went from detention center straight to the jail, straight to prison at the age of 16. So by the age of 17, I was actually in a correctional facility for adults. And I always remember, I always tell this story. When I first got there, I got an ID, and it was a yellow ID, and it said no tobacco and no pornography. Because I was still underage, so I couldn't have these things because I was still underage. And I always thought, like, hold on, you can treat me as an adult, but I can't have the things that adults have. But yeah, I understood that. And like I said, at the age of 16, and we talk about the injustice of my sentence and so forth, because I speak of this crime because no one was hurt physically. Yes, mentally, I know robbery can be a difficult thing without a shot of a doubt. Like, I've been on both sides of it, so I know like the trauma that it does cause. But as far as physically, no one was hurt in my crime. It was the first time I was ever in trouble, and at the age of 16, so I had no juvenile past or any crime or past or anything of that nature, and to be sentenced to that sentence at such a young age was traumatizing. And to be placed in a facility where it was nothing but adults there, like it was other guys my age, but I'm going into a cell with a guy that's 45 years old, and I'm 17 years old. I'm barely 100 pounds at the most. And this guy has been locked up for several years. So he's been working out and so forth and so on. So to put a guy like me in that situation was just like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, but like I said, it was a very unique and challenging experience. And I was so glad that I got through it. And I tell this story too as well. When I first went to prison, I was reading on I was 16 years old, but I was reading probably on a 4th grade level. And I never forget, I was in a hole for acting up, and which is solitary confinement. And I remember an older guy asking me, do I read? And I was like, nah, I'm good. And he was like, you sure? He was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need no books. So he was like, look, I'm going to send you a book anyway.
Right.
He sent me a book down there. This was back in 1997. Well, I'm going to say this was 98 at that time because I done went through the process. So now it's 98. He sent me the book. If you remember, we had the Walkmans back then.
Yep.
And we had the batteries and things like that. So my batteries ran out on my Walkman. So now I can't listen to my music no more. So now I'm looking at this book looking at me. I'm looking at this book looking at me. I decided to pick the book up. So as I picked the book up, I'm talking about like, it was so captivating from the first page. Like, it took my attention like, wow, I never read something like this. Huh. And this is before the internet was the internet and things of that nature. So the book was called Monster Cody. I never forget. It was about a gang member in LA. And everything I was reading was happening in my neighborhood. So therefore, it was like, wow, I didn't know this stuff happened outside of our neighborhoods because it was no internet back then. Huh. So everything you got off of the news channels. So, and at the age of 16 and 15, I wasn't watching the news, so I didn't know what was going on outside of my neighborhood. So I'm reading this book about a gang member in LA, and he's doing everything that we was doing in our neighborhood. And I'm talking about like, it grabbed my brain from the first page, and I'm talking about, I'm sounding out words, and I'm talking about like, I couldn't put the book down. I'm talking about the lights go out, and I'm trying to get in the corner to read some more, and I'm talking about like, the book was so captivating. And I say that to say it was something that interests me.
Right.
That's what had me reading because it was something that interests me. And everything at school was nothing that was interesting to me. And now I read books on college levels. I'm talking about I got trades and all type of different things, accolades that come together, and I'm part of organizations and so forth and so on. But I had to get something that grabbed my attention. And that's what I want to do now with the youth now. Like, I want to get them books that grabs their attention. So once they become reading, then they'll want to read. Because once I got that book in my hand, I wanted to read more books now. So it set me on a path to reading. I read Moby Dick. Like, and I'm thinking, like, what in the world? Like, these are books that I picked up and I read, like, over my time of being incarcerated. Like, so that was the thing, like, and that's what I want to do now. Like, the organizations that I work with, as far as nonprofit organizations or as far as coaching and things of that nature, I want to get these kids back to reading. So I want to give them books that grabs their attention, and once we grab their attention, then we can take it from there. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
right.
That's the process now.
That's amazing, right? So here he is at 16. And what year was this?
This was 1997.
97, and he got out what year?
I got out 2022.
And you did what, 25?
I did 25 years.
25 years, right? This is what he did, right? As a 16-year-old kid, he made a bad choice. And we're not saying that people, you know, me and him, we're not saying that we shouldn't have did some time, right? What we're saying is the injustice and the amount of time that we got. At 16 years old, he's not fully developed. His mind is not fully developed into a manhood or whatever the case may be. And he made a bad choice at that time. For him to get sentenced to something that's 31 years for basically no violence was committed, I mean, obviously, like he said, emotional damage was committed, yes. But he didn't commit any harm to the person when it comes physical harm, that is. This is a true travesty and an injustice. And this is what we come to, we come into contact all the time as people who go through the justice system. And it's really a shame. Like, I know he's got stories, and I got stories for Dave for the things, the way they treated us, the inhumane ways that they had treated us while we were incarcerated. And, there needs to be change inside of the prison. And this guy right here, and me and some other people, man, we could be full advocates to trying to bring change inside of the prisons of what's going on. Not saying that we should be living in Beverly Hills or something like that, but we should have basic, needs met inside of prison, right? You should see some of the food that we ate in there.
Yes.
I remember he was in the pod with me where the heat went out. It was 10 or 20 degree days, and they wouldn't give us heat for like 2 weeks. And I remember having all my clothes on underneath the blankets.
Yes.
And, we're in there freezing, can't even sleep, it's so cold. And you got all your clothes on with the blankets and everything, and you're still cold. And, they were just taking their time trying to get the heat fixed inside of there. Or other times where they would turn the water on and they would try to give you little bags of water that's like 6 ounces of water.
Yes.
Like 2 or 3 of them in a whole day. Like, it was just an inhumane way of doing things. And we want to bring the spotlight to that. But, we're going to talk about that on another episode. I'm definitely going to bring him back. But I want to get back to, him and what's going on with him, right? So, like he said, he was 16 years old. He was living that life, and it wound up leading him down a disastrous road. So now his mission and what his heart is trying to reach other kids in that same situation. He grew up in Lincoln Park Projects in Hampton. If you're anywhere from that area, then you might remember those projects, man. That's a rough area. He's been through the struggle. He knows about these things. So who better to go out and impact the kids than him? Yes. And this guy, he ain't going to those little nice areas to witness to people, right? He's going to the areas that other people were scared to go to.
Yes.
You got to show him respect for this, right? He's going in the areas, like I said, other people are not going into because they're scared. Yes. He's going out there to do this. So back to the penal system, I want him to give his opinion and his ideas of what the penal system is and how crooked it may be. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely unjust as far as the penal system. We see it every day. And I still have friends that I communicate within the system that I still talk to on a regular basis. And it's just crazy because they treat you like you're not human in there. I'm going to give you a small story, a quick story. I was at Waters Ridge State Prison, which is like 8 hours away from Hampton, Virginia. And we was working in the kitchen at the time, and a lady, a supervisor that was working in the kitchen, she went and tried to remove a coffee container off of this cart. And the container fell and the coffee splashed on her. This is hot coffee. It splashed on her. And the inmate tried to grab her to keep her from falling and hitting her head because she slipped. She was reacting to the hot coffee falling on her, and she slipped. And he grabbed her to keep her from hitting her head. This is a prisoner. He grabbed her from hitting her head. The officers ran in, and the first thing they did was put him in handcuffs. And the lady, the supervisor, she explained to him, like, no, he was trying to keep me from falling, from hitting my head. They told him that he should have let her fail and hit her head. She's explaining, no, he kept me from falling. What is y'all talking about? This is the humane treatment that we was getting. Just imagine you being next to an individual and that individual falling. Your natural reaction is to keep them from falling.
Absolutely.
So he went and reached out his hands to grab her to keep her from hitting her head. And they placed him and put him in solitary confinement. They told him he should have let her fall. Like, that's the treatment that we was getting as far as being incarcerated. And I understand that, you committed a crime, but you still should have rights. Simple as that. You still should have the necessary needs that you need to survive in prison. And at times we wasn't getting that. Right. Like he said, sometimes we go without heat. Sometimes we go without water. Like, it was just, and everything was secondary to them. Long as the officers was there, they didn't care. Like, long as you was trapped in that cell and you couldn't get out that cell, they didn't care how you survived or how you lived in there. And it's just so crazy. And we're bringing awareness to that through different programs. My man Redman in Portsmouth, he got a program. My man Chris Moore with Bag for the Kids. He got a program. So it's different programs out here that's bringing awareness to the situations that we having in the penal system, man. Because unless you're there, unless you see it, unless you got family members that see it, you'll never know. And that's the bad part. So hopefully we can get some type of justice for that. And I'm also a part of a ICANN program as far as juveniles being sentenced to life sentences. I think it's outlawed in more than 18 states now where you can't give a juvenile a life sentence no more. And the states that they do have it, you at least got to give a juvenile a chance at parole. So that is another step a humongous step, because you was giving 16-year-old life sentences, tell them that their life was over, basically at the age of 16. So now they're getting a chance at life again, and they're having a reason to do good in prison. Because just imagine coming in at 16 and you telling you're never going home again. What's the need of doing good? What's the need to try to get a degree or trying to get a trade if I know I'm never going home again? So now they're giving some type of hope, some type of leeway where these kids can get themselves together, man, and come out here and be productive in society. So
right, and like I said, he was sentenced to 31 years, right? So he's talking about them giving these outrageous sentences to 16 and 15 and 14-year-olds, like life sentences and stuff, and not giving them the chance to go home on parole or something like that. And it kind of fell on him even with the 31 years, right? Because they were trying to make you do the whole 31, right? Yeah. But eventually a law did come into place. He wound up getting out early, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, in Virginia, they established the parole for juveniles. So if you did more than 20 years, you was able to go up for parole. And luckily, by the God's grace, I was able to make it on my first time going up. And it's still a lot of guys in there that's still going up for parole that's not making it as juveniles. And it's crazy because the Supreme Court states that a juvenile's brain don't develop until the age of 21. So therefore, they're telling you, like, he's going to make mistakes. And a juvenile is unable to change his environment. So at the age of 16 or 17, you're not able to say, I want to move here or I want to move there. You got to stay where you're at or where your parents is at. Like, so the court's taking into consideration, all of this is being taken into consideration. And that's what we're trying to get the parole board to do now, which they just started making laws or parole guidelines just for juveniles now. Because at first they was going by the same guidelines as other adults was getting that was making parole. So now it's like, okay, their brain hasn't developed. They can't change the environment that they in. What about the abuse that they went through at the age of 16 or 17 or 12 or 13 or 14 years old? So all of this is being taken into consideration now when a child is going up for parole or when he's being sentenced now. So that's a great thing. Like, we really needed that. And it took this long for us to get it into play, but everything works on God's hand. So,
amen.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're going to definitely get back in this on future episodes. He's going to be back. We're going to get some other people in here, man. And we really want to break down some more of the penal system and the laws that, we're trying to get in place to help others who are in the same situations that especially he went through. And even what I went through, right? The injustices we received on the sentences for the crimes that we committed. They were harsh and they were unfair. And we're going to tackle that a little bit in further episodes, right? And I remember something else. I'm going to transition a little bit. I remember something else about Jay, man. This is a stand-up dude, man. He's loyal. He don't care where you're from, what you've been into. If he knows that you're real, he's going to stand by you, man. And I went into a war zone in 43 Pod. They called it the gangland, right? You may have heard me speak on this before. And I told y'all the guy put soldiers around me, right? So I'm in there, and there was, 2 white dudes in there. Remember this?
Yeah.
2 white dudes in the whole pod, 88 people in the pod, a lot of gangs, a lot of crazy stuff. Some of the gangs was even plotting on me. I remember this. Mm-hmm. And one of the dudes was the head blood dude was in the cell with Jay. We call him Jay, too. Maurice Stewart, we call him Jay. It's his nickname. He asked Jay about me. He was like, yo, who's that white dude right there? Jay was like, man, that's my boy, man. And they wanted to make a move, but guess what? He stood up on my behalf. And this is how true he is, right? He didn't even let me know because he didn't want me to stress. He told me a year later, I remember this. He said, yeah, they were plotting on you. But I went ahead and took care of that just so I didn't want you to stress about it. That's the type of dude he is, man. Like, he doesn't care about stuff like, if he likes you and he gets along with you and he sees that you're real, guess what? He's going to ride with you, man. And I respect him abundantly, immensely for that, right? Like, this is a good dude, one of my closest friends, man. I really love this dude, man. And I know what he has inside of him. It was instilled by his own family. And I remember him speaking about his grandparents so much when we were incarcerated, man, how they always came up there and seen him. They always believed in him. They were always encouraging him. And, they were beautiful people, man. And I just want to give him a little bit of time to tell him about his grandparents, man.
Yeah. You asked me earlier what had got me to the church, and I never got a chance to answer that. But I got into the church. First, I was going to the church just to talk to individuals. Like, that's how they do in prison. Like, when you're on one side of the yard and you might not be able to see an individual, you can go to church and y'all can meet up. And I used to always go to church, but I used to always listen to the gospel music. Like, that's what got me into church. Like, I love gospel music. And I'm talking about, like, that kept bringing me back. So now when I'm going there, I'm listening to the gospel music. I'm always listening to the gospel music. Then I started hearing the word. So now I'm listening. I'm like, okay, all right. So now I can understand this. Like, it took me a minute to get to it, but the gospel helped me transition into going to the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Helped me travel that path to seek out more knowledge about my God. You know what I'm saying? So, that's how I wind up going. That's how God put you in places like that. That is so crazy. But as far as my grandparents, man, I just lost my grandmother this year, and it was crazy. But she's in a better place now, and she's with her husband. So that's the only place she ever wanted to be anyway, was near her husband, and she's with her husband now. My time in prison, man, was a whole lot different from a lot of guys, and I didn't see it until I came home, and you hear the stories and so forth and so on. But my grandparents were there every single day of my bed. Like, every single day. Like, it was never a time that I couldn't call home. It was never a time that I really, really needed something and I couldn't get it. Like, they made it so that I knew I wasn't doing the time alone. And I'm talking about, like, it was such a blessing, man. Like, because I heard guys say family members disappear for 5 or 6 years and 7 to 8 years, and they don't have no communication with their family members. But my grandparents, wherever I went to, they was coming to visit me. I don't care how far it was, they was always there. My mother, until she got sick, she was always coming to visit me and things of that nature. So these were my backbones. This was kept me sane in an unsane situation. Like, imagine just being locked up at the age of 16 and you're away from home. You don't know what's going on. Like, you've never been in trouble before. So it ain't like you went through the detention service and then you came here. No, this was the first time I ever experienced any of this. And they made it so much easier for me, man. Like, my times could have been a whole lot harder than what it was. And I'm so blessed that I had them in my life. And I wish the only bad thing that I that was bittersweet was that my grandfather wanted to see me walk out them gates, and he wasn't here to able to see that. He passed away like right before I was able to get out, and it was so crazy, man. Like, but he's watching over me now, and he's guiding me every single step that I take. He was there to make sure that I'm taking the right steps and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing out here in society.
And one thing about it, he may have missed you walking out of those gates, but guess who's going to see him walking into those pearly gates upstairs, right?
He's waiting on me.
He's waiting on him, right? So, I got to go to his grandmother's funeral service, right, at the church. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, she was a deaconess. They spoke highly of her, right? And I know the impact she had on the people, man. That church parking lot was full. They had them in the grass and everything. Yeah. All down in downtown Newport News. It was a beautiful service. Mariah Love was there. It was just beautiful, man. It was packed. Yeah. She impacted a lot of people, man. And I never really got to meet her face to face, but I knew that her imprint is all over this guy, man. So I know she was a remarkable woman. His grandfather was a remarkable man. And like I said, they're going to be waiting at those gates when he walks on in there, right?
Yeah.
They instill great values in this guy, man. Like, he's awesome. And his values are being played out right now. Like, he's a football coach. Can you believe that? So they kept him in this prison this long time. They should have let him out earlier because he could have been doing a lot more things beforehand. But you know what? God used it anyway. So now he's out. He's doing community outreach, and he's also a football coach. Can you believe that? That's how God works, right? Yeah. Tell us about being a football coach.
Oh man! Oh boy, these kids! Oh my God! Oh Jesus! I love it, man, because not only you get to teach them the game, but you also get to mentor them as well. And that's the main thing that I was getting into it for, so I can be able to talk to them as I'm teaching them something. Mm-hmm. So, like, these kids, man, these kids are definitely different. Like, I'm trying to tell you, boy, these kids is different. But at the same time, like, they just want you to understand them. They want you to see them. Like, a lot of things are being made about their life, and they're not in the place where they can make the decisions on their own. I just went to a conference in Richmond, and I was with the Attorney General. We was with lawyers. We was with Haraco's deputy or sheriff, and it was some other brothers there that was incarcerated as well. And this meeting was about how can we curb the violence in Richmond, and what can we do to talk to the youth. And the first thing I noticed was it was no youth in there. These are all adults. Oh, yeah. Everybody was over 40 at the time. It was no youth, and it was no teenagers in here. It was no kids in here to say, all right, this is a good idea, or this is a bad idea, or this is what we want, and this is what... Nobody is listening to them. And that's why they're acting the way that they're acting out now. Yo, they don't have a say-so. So they feel like, all right, y'all making plans without us. All right, we're going to do what we want to do. And I hate to bring it back to slavery, but that's how the Constitution was put together. The Constitution, black people wasn't sitting at the table when this Constitution was made. But you're telling us that these are the rules that we got to follow. And that's how kids are looking at it now. They're looking at it like, yo, we not following the rules. Like, nah, we wasn't there to make these rules. Like, y'all not bringing us to the table. Y'all not asking us our opinion. So within our football league, that's just one thing that we're trying to put in base. Yo, all right, we want to hear what you got to say. Right. We want to, as long as they know that you're listening to them, yo, they feel more comfortable opening up to you. If they feel like you're not listening, they're not going to open up to you. If they feel like you're not going to be there just for this short period of time, they're not going to listen to you. Ain't too much to that. So therefore, yo, you got to make sure that you sit there and you listen to them. And they hear you. And you hear them. And yo, ask them what they think. Ask them their opinion. Ask them how can we do this and how can we do that. And yo, you'll get more further than what we've been doing. Because as right now, it's just terrible out here. Like, these kids is killing each other like without a problem. Like, it's ridiculous. So, but yeah, that's the plan, man. Hopefully we can get this community Broncos, man, back on track where we can win a few more games and see what's up, man.
Yeah, the Broncos are better than his NFL team. I got them beating his NFL team, the Jets, any day, man.
Aaron Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers. He played 5 minutes. That's it. But I love what he said, right? He said, look, we don't have the people who we're speaking about, we don't even have them sitting at the table. Yeah. Like, that's a good principle in all of life, right? If people don't care what you know until they know that you care is the old saying. So you got to be able to have them positioned at the table, too, to hear what they've got to say as well and to bounce things off of them. And he said it well, like, you got to have these kids there. If we're going to talk about kids and how to impact them, you got to have the kids there to give their input as well. So he did a remarkable job saying what he just said right there. And I look forward to seeing more doors open for him and the guys and myself to try to, just impact as many people as we can. Because I got a desire to, minister to the youth as well. I'm trying to build a youth program at my church. And, that's the next generation. Those are the people we want to reach out to, man, and help them to go the right way, the straight, narrow way, instead of the dark way that me and him went through. Yes. And I just want to give him the last few minutes, man, to give y'all some words of encouragement, man. Like I said, it's been an honor to have him. This guy's full of wisdom. He's been through some things, but he never let it bring him completely down, right? He always has a smile on his face. He always makes the best out of a worst case scenario. He lives life to the fullest. He's happy with the little things. He's like me. We happy with the little things, man. We got to enjoy the 49ers Commanders game a couple months ago. We got to ride to Maryland, man. We even got lost, but we had a good old time out there, man. Those are good moments for us, right?
Yes.
Coming from where we came from. So
Yeah.
go ahead, give them some words of encouragement, Jay. Let them know what's going on, and just encourage them, man. Let them know that even in the darkness, there's light, man.
Yes. I always say this. There's a difference when you think it can be worse to when you know it can be worse. So, like, we know it can be worse than what we got right now.
That's right.
Some people think it can be worse, but when you know it can be worse, when you came from that worst to now, like, yo, you let the little stuff slide. Like, I don't be in traffic arguing with nobody. Go ahead, take your time, man. I ain't in no rush to get nowhere. Like, I'm okay. Like, but yeah, man, life has been a blessing, man. I just 2 weeks ago, I just received my passport. Who would have thought? Like, I just received the passport where I can travel out of the country now. Like, wow. Like, I was sitting in the prison, so now I got a passport. Like, I'm about to get stamps on my passport. Like, everything's just been a blessing, man. I just take everything in, and I try not to let the small stuff get to me. When I first came home, I went for a job, and it was so crazy because when I walked into the place, it was a female that I haven't seen in over 20-something years. And she's excited to see me. So she was like, oh my God, Maurice, you know, da-da-da, this and da-da-da, that. I'm going into a job interview for the city. So me and her talked for a minute. Then the lady called me in for the interview. No, I take that back. She called her in for to speak to her first, the female that was sitting at the desk, the receptionist. So she asked her a few questions about me. She come back out. I go in. And she asked me, she was like, it was a question that was left off the application. I was like, okay. So she was like, have you just been released? I was like, yeah. She was like, so what, you were certified as an adult? I was like, yeah, because I haven't been in trouble. If you look at my sheet, my application, I tell the truth. I haven't been in trouble in 25 years. I haven't done nothing in 25 years. The last time I got in trouble, I was 16 years old. So she was like, well, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to hire you, so forth and so on. The female at the reception desk, she was upset. Like, she didn't understand it, but at the same time, it didn't get me discouraged. Like, I was like, okay, all right, I appreciate the opportunity. Boom, so forth and so on. A few months later, I wind up working for the city of Hampton on the tunnel that's connected from Hampton to Norfolk. Now, I couldn't get a job with this city cleaning out ditches and things of that nature, but I was able to get a job working on the tunnel that's being built from Hampton to Norfolk right now. So, like, it just tell you, man, like, yeah, doors gonna shut, but when that door shut, another door gonna open. So don't get discouraged. Keep your head up, keep it moving. Yo, keep a smile on your face, yo. And the one thing I did notice about being out here that we always heard when you're locked up is that if you're doing right, people will help you.
That's right.
Like,
That's
people
right.
want to see you do good.
That's
like,
right.
It's individuals, yo, that really want to see me do good. Like, they willing to help me out and help me get to where I need to be. Like, I got to shout out my sister, Uganda. Like, oh, man, she's such an amazing, she ran for city council in Newport News. Like, she didn't win that time, but next time she runs, she is definitely going to win. But she's one of the individuals, man, that I can call her at any given time, and yo, like, she's willing to help me because she sees that I'm on the right path. She sees that I want to do good. Council lady, Miss Hope, and for the city of Hampton, she's the same way. Like, these people that I can call at any given time, and they're willing to help me. Like, and I love that because it shows, like, how good of a person I am, yo. Trust me, I don't always make the right decisions. I'm still working. God's still progressing my life. So, but at the same time, I am trying to walk in the right path.
Amen.
So, and I definitely appreciate you coming down here, man.
Yes,
you
sir.
doing this interview. And thank you, man.
Look,
Thank you for being a friend,
man. Thank you. Look.
No question. I definitely appreciate that.
People are going to love this episode, man. It's been enlightening. Like I said, I'm going to have him back. We're going to go over some more topics, man. And I love what he said, man. You heard what he said. More doors will open for you. What doors God opens, no man can close. So when you have God on your team, guess what? You got the advantage, man. You got the advantage.
Amen.
So you look what God has done in our lives. If he did it for us, he can do it for you, and he can do it for you better. That's what God does. So look at the hope, and this is only what the Lord Jesus Christ does through us, man. And it's just a beautiful day to be able to sit down with him right here. We were sitting in a 5x8 cell, eating ramen noodles.
Yes.
Just a few short years ago, watching a little flat screen TV, like 12, 13 inches, right?
Yes.
But now here we are. We're making a podcast, man. We're sharing our experiences, and we're hoping to impact people, man. And again, it's been a privilege and honor to have Maurice J. Stewart here today.
Yes.
God is going to continue to use this man to reach so many people, the youth most importantly. And like I said, we're looking for the Broncos, man, to win some championships, man.
I'm about to go to practice today.
That's right. That's right. And like I said, they could beat the Jets in the NFL. Man, y'all have a good day, man. This is Speak Truth, Be Truth, Live Truth. I'm your host, Eddie Steely. And we'll see y'all again. Grace and peace be multiplied to you in Jesus' name.
Peace.
Peace.